Tonight on Business Life, Economist Professor Peter Quarshie predicts Ghana's economy will witness higher growth rates this year, but not without job creation in agri and industry sectors.
All things being equal, we are likely to see higher growth rates, as we've seen in the last quarter of 2023. We're likely to see higher growth rates in the first 3 quarters and possibly the last quarter of 2024.
Also in this bulletin, we will be assessing the impact of rising rate of money laundering and terrorist financing on the real economy, financial sector, and society at large. Later on the Joy Business Van, we feature Age Engineering, the startup designing and manufacturing agricultural machinery. We have these and many more for you. Please stay. For your time, I am Pius Kojo Baka. We dig in now with our very first story. Ghana's economy expanded by 2.9% in 2023, stronger than the revised 1.5% by the Ministry of Finance. According to data from the Ghana Statistical Service, the services sector, however, contracted by 1.2%. It, however, remains the biggest size of the economy. Commenting on the development, government statistician Professor Samuel Kobnenim said the last quarter of 2023 recorded a higher growth rate of 3.8%, driven by the oil and gas subsectors.
According to data from the Ghana Statistical Service, industry sector contracted by 1.2% compared to 0.6% in 2022. The services sector remains the biggest contributor to the growth of the economy. Agri sector grew at the rate of 4% in 2023 compared to 4.5% in 2022. The livestock subsector recorded the biggest GDP of 4.9%, contributing the highest to agri sector growth. Government statistician Professor Samuel Kobnenim said the last quarter of 2023, however, recorded a higher growth rate of 3.8%, driven by the oil and gas subsector.
Given the contractions in the first 3 quarters of 2023, on an annual basis, the industry sector contracted by 1.2% in 2023. The services sector started off with a 6.0 growth rate in both 2 quarters of in the first 2 quarters of 2023, slowed down to 5.0 and 5.1 in the 3rd and 4th quarters of 2023, culminating in a 5.5 annual growth rate for the services sector in 2023. The overall growth rate for the economy, which started with 3.1% in the first quarter of 2023, slowing down to 2.5 and 2.2% in the 2nd and 3rd quarters of 2023, inching up to 3.8% in the 4th quarter of 2023, and with these 4 quarters overall growth rate, the economy grew by 2.9% in the year 2023.
For the first time in more than a year, oil GDP growth of 3.8% for the last quarter of 2023 was higher than the non-oil growth rate of 3.4%. Professor Kobnenim explains.
From an oil perspective, the economy grew by 3.8%, and from a non-oil perspective, the last quarter of 2023, the economy grew by 3.5%. In terms of a non-oil GDP growth rate, this signifies a 0.8% slowdown in the growth rate of the economy, as the economy grew by 4.2% in the last quarter of 2022, relative to the 3.4% that was recorded for the last quarter of 2023. From a trend perspective, that is since the last quarter of 2021 to the last quarter of 2023, we see that this is the first time in the last 9 months, and indeed since the 2nd quarter of 2020, that we've seen an oil GDP higher than a non-oil GDP. The last time Ghana saw an oil GDP higher than a non-oil GDP was in the 2nd quarter of 2020. So in the last 14 months, this is the first time that we've seen another incidence where oil GDP has grown faster than non-oil GDP in the last quarter of 2023, specifically with oil GDP growing at 3.8% and non-oil GDP growing at 3.4%.
The Ghana Statistical Service, however, indicated that these growth figures are provisional, meaning a possibility of a review in the next release.
Meanwhile, the director of the Institute of Statistical, Social and Economic Research, Professor Peter Quarshie, is predicting the economy will witness higher growth rate for the first 3 quarters of this year, but not without job creation in the agri and industry sectors. His comment is coming at a time Ghana's economy grew by 2.9% in 2023, stronger than the revised 1.5% by the Ministry of Finance. He's been speaking to Joy Business.
All things being equal, we are likely to see higher growth rates, as we've seen in the last quarter of 2023. We're likely to see higher growth rates in the first 3 quarters and possibly the last quarter of 2024. What we cannot say for sure is the fiscal after 2024, whether we will maintain prudent fiscal balance and therefore will not suffer the political business cycle or election business cycle as we used to in every election year. But otherwise, my expectation for 2024 is much brighter. I think we are likely to grow at a much higher pace, all things being equal.
What should the government be prioritizing based on the performances of the various sectors? What advice would you give?
I think, for me, jobs, and to enhance job creation, you need to target manufacturing, you need to target agriculture. Those are the 2 major sectors that if we're able to support the value chain, we're likely to create more jobs for our citizens. So let's look at that. Government has to look at agri carefully, how it's going to support not just providing input credit, but the entire value chain, how it's going to support it with some large-scale commercial farmers to ensure that we revamp agri and grow at a much faster pace. Then industry, manufacturing is key in terms of job creation. So what are we going to do to enhance industrial or manufacturing production? The cost of doing business is one major factor, ensuring electricity and other costs are kept within reasonable reach. We don't want to see new or higher taxes, but rather should make the existing tax handles more efficient and then allow industry to flourish.
You're still watching Business Life with me, Pius Kojo Baka. Now, in today's interconnected world, financial crimes pose significant threats to businesses, financial institutions, and regulatory authorities. Among these financial crimes, money laundering and the financing of terrorism have become common. In view of this, the Faculty of Accounting and Finance at the University of Professional Studies here in Accra, in partnership with the Financial Intelligence Center, is organizing training designed to provide participants with comprehensive education and understanding of the fundamentals of money laundering and terrorism financing, its implications, and the strategies employed to combat these issues. Now, joining me in studio to tell us more about this is the Dean of Accounting and Finance at the UPSA, Professor Isaac Bwedi. Thanks so much, Prof, for your time. Once again, seeing you here in our studios, our new studios, I should say. The last time we had the discussion was last Friday. Yeah, it was a great discussion we had. Again, we are back at it. Terrorism financing and money laundering. What's the link between these two?
First and foremost, let me make a correction.
Okay.
A lecturer at the Department of Banking and Finance at the University of Professional Studies.
Very well.
Of course, the program is hosted by our dean, Professor Bwedi. Now, when we talk about money laundering, it is an illicit activity where an individual or groups of individuals will obtain funds from an illegal source. Then they will try to conceal the source and make it appear as if the funds are coming from a genuine source. Now, terrorist financing, on the other hand, is just about committing resources to, financial resources to terrorist activities. Now, these two are connected because most often than not, the funds that are realized from money laundering activities are used to finance terrorist activities.
I guess then that gives us the indication as to why we are organizing this training program.
Exactly, because these two are serious problems or issues that are confronting nations globally. And it will interest you to know that about 2 to 5% of global GDP is accounted for by money laundering. So money laundering and terrorist financing contribute about 2 to 5% of global GDP. And that is how serious it is. And the need for us to fight these two.
And you are partnering the Financial Intelligence Unit to organize this training program.
Exactly.
So tell me more about the training, basically about this program.
Yes, the training is geared towards educating the public and the participants on how we can combat these two issues of financial crime, that is money laundering and terrorist financing. So it's a 2-day program which is starting on 21st and we'll end it on the 22nd.
Starting from tomorrow, 21st? Tomorrow,
21st, and we end it on Friday, 22nd. So participants are spanning across industry and academia. And we have speakers coming from all walks of life. We have, for instance, the keynote speaker, who is Ambassador Sena Siao Boating, the Chief Director of the Ministry of Interior and Defense. And then we have also trainers coming from the Financial Intelligence Center and others also coming from industry to support. And the participants are mainly players in the financial services industry, people who are owning their own business. Then we also have academia, which is basically students and then the faculty.
And this will be organized at the UPSA, you say?
Exactly, at the UPSA.
At what time does it start?
The program registration actually starts at 9. And so by 10 a.m., we expect that the keynote speaker will start with her speech.
And is it for free?
Registration is absolutely free.
All right.
It's absolutely free.
Any final words you want to add?
Yes. What we want to add is that it's open to the general public, and we expect that a lot of people will come and then they will get more information and training on money laundering and terrorist financing and how we can combat these two menaces.
Dr. Musa, we are indeed grateful for your time, and
Thank
of course we shall be following up on that and of course bring up to speed on that developing story at UPSA to our audience. Thank you very much for joining me in the studio. You're still watching Business Live. Still to come on the Joy Business Van, we feature age engineering, the startup design and manufacturing agricultural machinery. And we'll hear from the CEO, Theophilus Asifu Abuaje, a young university graduate who will share his vision to industrialize Africa here on the channel with us. Hello, welcome back to Business Live, and we take the van now. Theophilus Asifu Abuaje just wanted to help his mom fix her milling machines whenever they broke down. But with the skills he acquired, the university graduate is now designing and manufacturing agricultural and construction machines and helping tackle post-harvest losses in the agri sector. We feature his startup, Age Engineering, today on the Joy Business Van.
Joy Business Van is brought to you by EcoBank, a better way, a better Africa. MTN, what are we doing today?
Hello, Joy Business Fan. My name is Abuaji Theophilus Asifu, and I'm the founder and CEO of Age Engineering and Trading Company Limited. Welcome to our production facility.
Young, hardworking, intelligent, and self-motivated. Some adjectives that describe Theophilus Asifu Abuaje, CEO and founder of Age Engineering.
This whole thing was not part of my dream. You know, I wanted to become a bank manager when I was a little kid, or either a manager or a businessman, because I grew up seeing my dad do his own thing and then seeing my mom do her own thing. They are business people. So while I was growing up, I wanted to take the path of my dad, becoming a businessman or becoming a banker, or let's say a bank manager.
Although Theophilus' dream was to do business, he never got the opportunity to study anything related to that in school. He completed the University of Ghana with a degree in social work and sociology. So, how did engineering come into the picture?
While I was on campus, more times I come home and then I go to my uncle. He is a welder. Okay, so he doesn't do fabrication, machinery fabrication. He does burglar proofs and balustrades and all that. So I just usually go there to pay a visit. So one day I was just there, and then I felt like I should learn how to weld, because it was interesting how they strike the electrode and then the fire comes out and all that. So I told him I wanted to learn. Then he told me that I should just focus on my education, because this kind of job is for, people who are not educated, who have not been to school.
Theophilus was still determined. One of the reasons, to help his mom, who is into the milling business. Whenever her machine broke down, she had to look for welders.
And I said, oh, so why don't I learn the welding, really learn the welding? And then when there is a challenge, instead of going out to bring welders to come and fix the problem and pay them, why don't I get a welding machine and then learn the welding very well, and be doing the fixing the challenges for her. So that was where the whole thing started from. I started going online, learning how to weld. That was how I mastered how to weld. Then I got the opportunity to study, do some internship with Ascent and Arts. It's a fabrication company in town. So I went there for 1 month. That was where they taught us really how to use, square, how to use a whole lot of the tools. So that was where I mastered it.
Now, Theophilus had to put what he had learned into practice.
So one day I came home, and then I looked critically at the machine that my mom uses. And I said, this machine looks very simple. I can do it. And then she started laughing at me. I was still in school then. And then she started laughing at me. She said, there is no way you can do it. If you want to do it, why don't you defer and go and do engineering? I said, no, I'm almost in level 300. Why do I defer? I'm almost in level 300. Why do I defer and then go and study engineering? So I kept pursuing my course. But I was also learning, the welding online. So I started fixing her machine when it breaks down and all that.
From fixing broken machines, Theophilus wanted to challenge himself. He decided to attempt manufacturing a machine from scratch.
One day, I looked for boxes, and then I'll go and look at the machine that is there, and then I'll replicate it with the box. So in no time, I think after 2 weeks, I had built a complete machine, but with boxes, and it would not be able to work. My mom just looked at it and she started laughing. She said, you think building machine with metal is the same as, building with boxes?
Theophilus was undeterred.
I kept my faith on. I didn't give up. So that was when the whole feeling, of wanting to build machine came from. When I realized that I was successful in building one fufu mill machine with boxes, and it looked exactly as the one that has been bought or purchased from outside. That was where the whole desire started from.
Next time, how Theophilus moved from boxes to building machines.